We're not going to start wars, but the wars have to be finished oftentimes before the peace. And if you don't do the wars, the peace doesn't happen. And if you're not going to be tough and ruthless like they are, it's not going to happen. Colleges and universities will purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What you're doing, the terrorism, this pro-terrorism is so out of control. Nobody's ever seen, or they will lose their accreditation and every last penny of federal student loans. It will not be paid to them, probably shouldn't be paid to them anyway.
What's up, guys? I'm Boston Brian from the Midas Touch Network. Well, Donald Trump, his merry gang of fascists, and their traveling circus continued their anti-American, anti-immigrant, pro-dictator rhetoric and stops over the weekend in Las Vegas and last week in New Hampshire. Like in this example, where Donald Trump once again praises and commends an authoritarian dictator, this time Viktor Orban. The only problem is Donald Trump's not even smart enough to remember which country Viktor Orban is dictator of. Here he is calling Viktor Orban the leader of Turkey before seeing Hungary on the teleprompter and correcting his mistake.
You know, I was very honored as a man. Viktor Orban, did anyone ever hear of him? He's probably like one of the strongest leaders anywhere in the world. And he's the leader of, right? He's the leader of Turkey, fronts on both Russia, and he's the head of Hungary, and he runs it tough. Let me tell you, he runs it properly. He runs it strong with crime and everything else. He runs it strong. And he doesn't let terrorists into his country.
And here he is in Las Vegas over the weekend, once again praising Viktor Orban as a strongman.
I make this promise to you as president, we will restore peace through strength on the earth, beyond, on the earth. Viktor Orban said the other day, the only way that this world is going to be solved, he's a very strong man, as you know, from Hungary, and he's the boss, there's no doubt about it. He actually asked me for my endorsement, and I gave it to him. I said, what do you need it for? He says, because I like to win by a lot. And he did.
Of course he did. Well, dictators tend to win by large margins until their people overthrow them or another country gets sick of their shit. And Orban, who's been the leader of Hungary since 2010 and has long been criticized by the EU for his dictatorial and nationalistic rhetoric and policies, fits right into the mold of Donald Trump and the GOP. Now, the link between Donald Trump, the GOP, and Viktor Orban should come as no surprise. As you remember, Viktor Orban was actually the keynote speaker at the 2022 CPAC in Texas. And obviously, anybody that watches the Midas Touch Network has known for a long time about Donald Trump's love affair and admiration for strongmen dictators like Xi Jinping in China, Vladimir Putin in Russia, Kim Jong-un in North Korea, Erdogan in Turkey, and the list goes on.
Well, he is very talented. Anybody that takes over a situation like he did at 26 years of age and is able to run it and run it tough, you'd be very surprised. Very smart, very good negotiator.
Really, he's got a great personality. He's a, funny guy. He's a very smart guy. He's a great negotiator. He loves his people. Not that I'm surprised by that, but he loves his people.
How smart is he? Could you tell?
Top of the line.
Top of the line.
Yeah, they're all top of the line. Our guy's not top of the line. Never was. These are top of the line people at the top of their game. President Xi is a brilliant man. If you went all over Hollywood to look for somebody to play the role of President Xi, you couldn't find it. There's nobody like that. The look, the brain, the whole thing. Top of the line smart, top of the line. How smart is Kim Jong-un? Top of the line. People say, oh, this and that. Really smart. He's a very smart Putin. Very smart. Now, he's had and probably a bad year. Don't forget, that whole thing is not, if he took over all of Ukraine.
And let's not forget that little-known fact that he used to keep a book of Hitler's speeches by his bedside. Now, when I say dictator, your mind probably automatically goes to a teetotaling vegetarian madman with a mustache known for his genocidal tendencies and mass deportations. Just make sure you keep all that in mind as you listen to Donald Trump at this next clip. And no, the irony is not lost on me that he's talking about Dwight D. Eisenhower, the man that was Supreme Allied Commander of the Expeditionary Force, who was partly responsible for defeating that dictator you were just thinking about.
One day I'll terminate on day one, we're going to terminate every single open borders policy of the Biden administration. And we will begin the single largest domestic deportation operation in American history. We have to. We have to. Not that I want to do that. Dwight Eisenhower, he was a great general, actually, underrated. He's a great general. when he was president, he deported. He was very much into it. He said, you have to come in legally. That's the same with me. Have to come into the country legally, right? Legally. And he did tremendous deportation, and works. But we have all of these people coming in, and we do have many criminals and people that shouldn't be in our country, including disease, by the way. People coming in that are very sick, and they do pain things. It's just not right what's happening.
Now, what he's talking about is the 1955 Joint Immigration Policy and largest mass deportation in American history, known as Operation Wetback, which, right off the bat, the name Wetback is a racial slur directed at Mexicans living in the United States, supposedly because they got their backs wet crossing the Rio Grande trying to get into this country. I just wanted to read to you a little bit about this ridiculous operation that Donald Trump is somehow touting as a success of American immigration policy. The short-lived operation used military-style tactics to remove Mexican immigrants, some of them American citizens, from the United States. Though millions of Mexicans had legally entered the country through joint immigration programs in the first half of the 20th century, Operation Wetback was designed to send them back to Mexico. With the help of the Mexican government, which sought the return of Mexican nationals to alleviate a labor shortage, Border Patrol agents and local officials used military techniques and engaged in a coordinated, tactical operation to remove the immigrants. Along the way, they used widespread racial stereotypes to justify their sometimes brutal treatment of immigrants. Inside the United States, anti-Mexican sentiment was pervasive, and harsh portrayals of Mexican immigrants as dirty, disease-bearing, and irresponsible were the norm. Does that sound familiar? Have we heard disease-ridden and irresponsible and violent and all the other things coming out of Donald Trump's mouth? Yes, we have. And if it wasn't bad enough that Trump is celebrating an immigration policy from the 50s with a racist name dealing with mass deportations, here he is once again calling immigrants disease-ridden while coming damn close to quoting Hitler's Mein Kampf directly.
Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from, and we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country. It's so bad, and people are coming in with disease. People are coming in with every possible thing that you can have.
Poisoning the blood of our country is a phrase that closely echoes the Nazi propaganda Hitler was spouting in Mein Kampf that was used to denigrate immigrants, Jewish families, and interracial families, and also used to tout his racial purity beliefs for his country. More specifically, it echoes Chapter 11 titled Nation and Race in Mein Kampf, where Hitler wrote, "No more than nature desires the mater of weaker with stronger individuals, even less does she desire the blending of a higher with a lower race, since, if she did, her whole work of higher breeding over perhaps hundreds of thousands of years might be ruined with one blow. Historical experience offers countless proofs of this. It shows with terrifying clarity that in every mingling of Aryan blood with that of the lower peoples will result in the end of the cultured people. North America, whose population consists in by far the largest of the Germanic elements who mixed with little with the lower colored people, shows a different humanity and culture from Central and South America, where the predominantly Latin immigrants often mixed with the Aborigines on a large scale. By this one example, we can clearly and distinctly recognize the effect of racial mixture. The Germanic inhabitant of the American continent, who has remained racially pure and unmixed, rose to be master of the continent. He will remain master as long as he does not fall a victim of the defilement of the blood." And there are many more examples of this all throughout Mein Kampf, where Hitler is talking about the blood of his people somehow being defiled by immigrants, Jewish families, and mixed-race families. So you can be damn sure the fact that Donald Trump is now pulling this phrase out of his bag is no fucking coincidence. And when he wasn't denigrating immigrants, talking about mass deportations, or quoting Hitler directly, his ultra-fascistic, ultra-authoritarian, ultra-dangerous rhetoric was on full display.
He would take a tough guy like these two guys up here. He'd slap them around. He'd shoot them if he didn't like them. If he gave them a dirty look, right? He'd shoot them right through the head. A vote for Crooked Joe is a vote to turn the United States into a hotbed of jihadists and make our cities into dumping grounds, very much resembling the Gaza Strip. Keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. If you don't like our religion, which a lot of them don't, then we don't want you in our country, and you are not getting in.
Come 2025, we will find you and we will deport you. The killers responsible for this horrible massacre will burn forever in the eternal pit of hell. They're going to burn forever. If you try to kill our citizens, we will kill you. If you spill a drop of American blood, we will spill a gallon of yours.
Rhetoric like that could be inputted into any of the speeches given by history's dictators, and it would fit in seamlessly. And listen, I am well aware that Donald Trump is only trying to imitate and make fun of Joe Biden when he does this, but somebody should really tell this guy the only person that looks moronic, the only person that looks like an idiot in this situation is Donald Trump himself.
Did you ever see him, though? Finishes, and by that time, all the stuff is worn off, so he's totally incoherent. And he goes, thank you. All right? Where am I?
Here he is just acting like an absolute madman in the midst of some maniacal episode where he just keeps repeating the phrase fat pig over and over and over again, and it's really hard to imagine any more unpresidential behavior than this right here.
I remember with that Chris Christie, a guy shouts out, he's a fat pig. Now he shouted out, Chris Christie is a fat pig. Then they shouted out, Bill Barr is a fat pig. He's a slob. He's a fat pig. You're not allowed to use the word fat. You're not allowed to say that. So they say, Bill Barr, sir, he's a fat pig. And I say, listen, Bill Barr is not a fat pig.
What in the hell was that all about?
I really just have to thank this gentleman from New Hampshire for allowing me the opportunity to make this next clip and put it in this video.
It's sex slavery.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Let's be candid about it. Okay, it's pedophilia being marketed with the assistance of our open border in Mexico, and it's done for profit. And it happens. You know, the island. What was his name?
Jeffrey Epstein?
Epstein, right?
Oh, you mean this guy?
Who mysteriously committed suicide in a
Right.
cell that had nothing to do. That he could do it with. You know,
Right.
all this stuff it's not coincidental, but it appears that there is a very high level ring of people operating this sex with kids ring.
You know, buddy, you're absolutely right, which is exactly why we should probably go after anybody that had any connection whatsoever to Jeffrey Epstein. Right? Next, the brilliant mind of Donald Trump found it wise to use his limited campaign time to talk about golden showers.
How about going home to my wife on the shower, you know, the golden shower, they called it. And I had to explain that to our great First Lady. I had to explain. They said, sir, they said, when you were in Russia. Well, I was there for so short a period. And they said this thing with the golden shower. And I said, I didn't care about the other stuff. The other stuff was, you know, nuclear. I didn't worry about that. The golden shower was a problem for me.
And finally, in one of the most brilliant campaign strategies in recent memory that I've ever seen, at least, Donald Trump just straight out tells his voters not to vote.
So we have to be careful. You got to get out there and you got to watch those voters. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes.
In my opinion, that has to be some of the best advice Donald Trump has ever given Republican voters, and I really hope they take it to heart. And I know because Donald Trump sways so frequently between comical and dangerous that it's easy not to be able to take him seriously, but I think we have to take everything that this man says very seriously because he continues to be one of the most dangerous threats this country has seen in a long, long time. And until this man is behind bars or 6 feet underground, and even then we can't quit, we need to stay vigilant, and the best way to do that is to stay right here at the Midas Touch Network. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers, which is unbelievable, so please click that subscribe button. If you like what you're seeing, if you like what you're hearing, leave a comment. Tell them Boston Brian sent you. You can also check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Boston Brian. You can also check out the Midas Touch Patreon at patreon.com/Midas Touch. Until then, we need to keep kicking ass. We need to keep calling this shit out. We need to keep making sure that this guy doesn't get his way. For Midas Touch, I'm Boston Brian. Have a great night.